jerkbaits. I want to talk about jerkbaits just a little bit because, you know, you got a lake out there. You got a lake out there in Travis that is absolutely one of the perfect type jerkbait lakes that there is. I mean, and they're biting it right now. I don't think I ever caught a keeper this week on a jerkbait, but you could catch fish just about everywhere you went on a jerkbait. And the water's got, for Travis, probably quite a bit of color in it right now. You got the wind. I mean, I know that you got a lot of color on the lake. Sometimes it's because of boat traffic, all that boats. I mean, there's like 50,000 boat slips on this lake. And when they all get out there running around, I know it's got to cause a lot of dingy and dirty water, but anyway, the clear water is just a perfect situation for a jerkbait. And we're getting almost a little bit late for some of the two or three things I want to talk to you about on a jerkbait, but it's still critical right now because that water temperature is kind of going up and going down, going up and going down. And I just grabbed two or three off the shelf back there. I use a lot of different jerkbaits. I use that Lucky Craft RC stick bait. RC stands for Ricky Clun. It's a bait that doesn't go exceptionally deep, but it suspends well. It's got great action. The jerkbaits nowadays are beautiful baits. I mean, they're like a work of art. But there's just a few things you need to remember about a jerkbait. One is the fish will start biting them really when the water is still pretty cold. And probably as cold as it gets down here. As a matter of fact, you'll be able to still catch fish on a jerkbait, particularly one that's suspended. Now, most of the time when most people talk to you about fishing jerkbaits, they'll tell you to use light line. And they're talking about generally, well, let me just ask y'all a question. How many of you fish a jerkbait? What pound test line do you use? 14, 14, 12, 14. Wow, y'all after some really big fish. 6. You know, what I hear mostly when I ask that question is 10-pound test. Most people throw early in the year. The 6-pound test line will get you more bites than 8-pound test. 8-pound test will get you more bites than 10-pound test when you're fishing jerkbait earlier in the year. If you were to do a survey of all the bass fishermen in the nation, 10-pound test would be the most popular size they throw jerkbaits on. Now, as you get into the summertime, you can throw on bigger line, doesn't make any difference. But the colder water, the lighter the line, will definitely get you more bites. And you'll get more bites on 6 pounds than you will any other size, unless you have money to buy lots of jerkbaits and then put 4-pound test line on. Bass Pro will love you. You'll build your rewards card up a lot because a 2-pound bass will break 4-pound test line a lot. So particularly with all those bushes out there, you know. But the 6-pound test is about the perfect earlier in the year. Now, I like to use suspended jerkbaits, the kind I like to use. This is a Pro Rose, Rattling Rose. They're kind of an old staple. This bait's been around forever, made by Jack Smithwick. It's one of my very favorites. That is probably as good a color as you can. So we don't really know what they think that is. It's a great color. We know it looks like a shad. We know it's got a crawfish bottom on it. This particular bait right here, of course, just looks like a shad. I don't know what else they brought me. This bait right here, they call a clown color. Looks like a clown. I don't know. But that's a really good color. The clearer the water, seems like that color works a little bit better. And I heard Dennis DJ, my buddy over here, talking earlier about different colors of crawfish. It's got a lot of crawfish color in it. Got some red in there, got some gold, got some black, a lot of crawfish color in it. The two things that bass really like to eat, and bass like to eat anything they can catch. They'll eat baby catfish, they eat baby crappie, they eat baby bass. One of the best crankbait colors you can get, the baby bass. But they really love crawfish, they really love shad. So as long as you, and I believe you need a bait that's got some red in it and it's got some blue in it. The two colors that bass can see best in most shallow water applications are red and blue. So if you got some red or blue on your bait, you're better off. This bait right here, I'd probably take a red magic marker or one of those red dipping dye pins, you know, and paint a little red throat on it. I'd like that bait better if it had red eyes in it. About every bait I've ever designed for anybody, I put red eyes or red throat, maybe put some red gill plates, put a little red on the bait. Don't matter. Red metal flake in almost any color plastic worm. Help that worm out. It's got a little red on it. That's got a little bit of a red dot or two on it. To me, that's better if it's got red eyes too. They can see that color better in most shallow water applications, red and blue. The fluorescent color they can see the best, fluorescent yellow, which is what we call chartreuse. So think about that when your color's out there. If you got one or two or all three of those colors in your lure, you're probably going to be pretty good shape. Now, on these baits, what else do they bring me over here? They brought me one of these $5 Lucky Crafts. Again, that's got a lot of red in it. Good color. Got a lot of blue in that one. I don't know why they don't put red eyes in it. I love that. That's the Livingston lure right there. That's the same lure as this right here, same color, different lure. Now, one of the key things, again, is getting that bait down deep early in the year. The deeper you can get it, the more bites you're going to get. You'll get it deeper on 10-pound test line than you will probably 14. You get it deeper on 8 than you will 10, deeper on 6. You want to buy a lot of them, put it on 4, you can really get it down there. Now, if you're going to have it on 4, you better have it on spinning reel. You better have it on spinning reel. And you can use it on your spinning reel if you want. I think you can operate a jerkbait better with a casting reel than you can a spinning reel. But if you want to use a spinning reel, put some 15 or 20 pound braid on there and tie you a leader that's 6 or 8 pound head. You want to do that. And that'll work for you. Either fluorocarbon or green fishing line. I use the high C copolymer. I use the Grand Slam. But okay, here's the first thing you want to do when you tie one of these jerkbaits on. You want to throw it out there, just plane it back in as fast as you can. You don't have to really burn it, just bring it back in pretty quick. Make sure it's running right straight back to you. They don't all do that. Probably, they brought me a half a dozen baits. Probably, and these are good baits. All of these are good baits. They're great brands. But probably if you tie D6 on, wound them back to you, probably 4 of them are going to come right straight back to you. The other 2 are going to go one way or the other, to the left or to the right. It's critical that these things, when you throw them out, wind them back in, it runs right straight back to the end of your rod. If it's going to the left or to the right, adjust that bait. Adjust that bait where it'll run straight. Anytime it's running off to the side, it's not going to go as deep. You want that thing going straight down. You don't want it coming off to the side. It won't go as deep. Now, there's 2 or 3 ways to adjust them. The simplest way is right up here around that eye. If whichever direction it's running, you take your needle nose, and you don't have to bend it very far, bend it in the opposite direction. So if I throw this bait out, I wind it back in, it's coming off to my left, I'm going to bend that a little to the right. That'll adjust it. You don't have to bend it very far. Bend it very far, it's going to run too far off this way. Now, that's a simple way to do it. Simple, easy. A little notation there that crankbait runs to the left. Get around a boat dock, you're over on the right side of it, throw that baby down the side of it, crank it, it's going to run under that dock. That's good for a bait that don't run good. That's a good deal right there. That's still not going to get the maximum depth, but sometimes that little deal right there will cause you to catch fish. Now what they'll do if you're running down the side of the dock, the bass runs there, he'll run out there and grab it. If that bait comes under that dock with that bass, you got a lot better chance of catching it. I catch a lot of fish on a spinner bait and a crankbait by being right up around the edge of the dock. And when I get down to the end of it, I'll take and put my rod down under the water and bring it around the edge of the dock. So in other words, it's out here and now I got it down and I got it down under. You only have about maybe that much line out. I'm not going to push your button on your reel because it's big and grabby, so you let it down on the line. But you want these things running straight back. The other way you can adjust them, and now here's a real good deal too. You can actually take your pocket knife, take your pocket knife out, and the bigger the pocket knife, the better. You want a pocket knife where if you don't have your gun on you, you can kill somebody if you have to, you know. But take your pocket knife out, and whichever way the bait is running, take it and just scrape the right side of the bill, shave it off just a little bit. So it's running to the left, shave the opposite side. Because what's causing it to run crooked is that it's counterbalanced that a little bit off. So you can shave a little bit of that bill off. Now, you got to be careful doing that. Once you correct it that way, so you probably will never have to correct it again. When you start bending around on that eye, many times you got to re-correct it. So if you'll shave that bill, okay, the only thing, be careful. If you shave too much, it's going to run in the opposite direction. Then you got to shave it on the other side. And then and you can be careful. You shave it, you shave it, you shave it. Sometimes you got it running straight, you just point it. Just run into the bass, stab it, slide them in. No problem. Don't shave them down that much. So anyway, so once you got it running straight, that's what you want to do. Now here's the other thing. Got light lines, so you're going to get it down to depth. And early in the year like this, I like to use a suspended crankbait. Nothing but one spin. When you stop it, it stays right where it is. When the water gets warmer, you can use the kind that you stop it, floats back up and fine. But right now, you want it to stay down there. Throw that bait out there, and really and truly, everybody throws it out there and they try to jerk real hard about 3 or 4 times, get it back to the depth. You don't really have to do that. You can, if you want, just kind of sweep your rod. You got it running straight. It's going to go down to maximum depth. Once you get it down there, sweep your rod, get it down there, stop. Move your rod tip back where you got slack line. Slack line. That'll cause that bait to sit there. And then you want to start moving the bait. Then you want to start working. Now, early in the year when the water's cold, and it's in the 60s out there right now, in Oklahoma, well, it's really not much difference in Oklahoma. It's about the 60s right now too. We start catching them on a jerkbait once the water gets up to about 45 or so. Start catching them on a jerkbait. Yeah, I don't know if your water gets that cold, very often. But anyway, want to get that bait down to maximum depth, stop it, leave it sit there a second. And here's the deal. Don't jerk that thing hard. All you need to do is move your rod tip about 6 inches. If you make a hard jerk on it, you're going to move that bait sometimes 2 or 3 foot down there. You don't want to do that. You want to move your rod tip about 6 inches. And when you move it about 6 inches, move your rod tip back towards the bait, where your line is slack. You want your line to be laying slack. Don't jerk it and hold it tight. If you hold it tight, when you jerk that bait down there, it'll slide on you just a little bit. You don't want it to slide. You want it to stop. Not where it is. Leave it lay there a second. The colder the water, the longer you want to leave it lay suspended in the water. As it gets warmer, make that time shorter. Here's the keyest element to fish these baits and catch a lot of big fish on it. You jerk it down there, you get it down there and you move it 6 inches, you stop, and you pause. You leave it lay there as long as you can stand it. And then you leave it lay there a little longer. And you jerk it another 6 inches. And you move your rod tip toward it where your line's flat. And leave it lay there. Now, once you catch a fish or two, you'll kind of get in your mind about how long you need to pause it. Sometimes you just leave it there. And let me tell you what happens a lot of times. This water's so clear, these bass can see the bait 30, 40, 50 feet away. You can have a bass that's down there in 20, 30, 40 feet of water and your bait's running 8 or 9 or 10 feet, 6 pound 10 line. He can be 30 or 40 feet down there and he sees that baby up there. And think about this a minute. 20 feet deep seems to be like relatively deep to a lot of people. 20 feet deep, it is. Most pastors say, yeah, 20 foot deep is deep. That's from the front end of your bass boat to the back. That's all it is. So if you stood it on the end, your mercury motor is 21 feet deep. That's all. That's all it is. But it's still deep. I'm not saying stop. Don't do that with your boat. but your mercury motor is 21 foot deep. So your bait's down there 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 feet, depending on your bait, type of jerkbait you have. You stop that thing. When you stop it, there may be a bass down there 20, 30, 40 feet deep. You can see that bait, clear as day. The bass that we had in our tanks at the University of Oklahoma, when I worked with Dr. Lauren Hill doing all that work on the color selector for about I didn't do it all 9 years. I did it with him about the last 2 or 3 years, doing the studies on bass and color and how they can see certain colors, what color they see better in dingy water, muddy water, and clear water. And we'd change the color of the water. We'd train bass to hit a certain color. And if they hit that color, we'd feed them. If they didn't hit that color, we'd shock them. Well, if they couldn't see that color, they got to go crazy. So they thinking, I'm hungry, want to be fed, but I'm getting ready to get my butt burned. So they would go crazy. But in our tanks, they were 30 feet long. In clear water, you can put a bass in there, we're trained to strike a red disc. You go right straight to that red disc with 30 foot, right to it, ding, hit it, feed it. It's amazing what you can train bass to do. And so we knew the bass could see it instantly at 30 feet. You muddy the water up and he couldn't, and maybe more than 30. Our tanks were 30 feet long. We didn't know. That's all the longer they were. They might be able to see it 40 or 50 feet. If they see that bait up there, let's say 20 or 25 or 30 feet above them, and they're not real aggressive early in the year when the water's cold, so they see that thing up there and it stops. It's just sitting there. And you move it, you don't want to move it 2 foot. You don't want to do that. It's what everybody wants to do with a jerkbait. You want to jerk on that thing, you know? They name them jerkbaits because the fishermen, not the bait, it's a jerk on this end. That's what they name them for. And so the bait's up here, 20 or 30 or 10 or whatever above the fish, and he sees it up there. And it's laying there. And all of a sudden you move your rod tip 6 inches and stop. Move your rod tip back toward the bait, your line slack, it just wiggles about 8 or 10 inches in the water and stops. And it's laying there. So many times those bass will rise up under that bait. You've seen it happen in this clear lake out here, I'm sure. When you work at one day, you get in there and you look and there's a bass under it. And you go, oh my gosh. And you know, hopefully he doesn't see the boat. If you used to have that happen, kneel down, get down the bottom of the boat. Don't say I mean. And he doesn't, you know, they see a million boats on this lake. They ain't worried about the boat. They see you standing up there though, might spook them. But if he's down there, your bait's 10 or 12 feet down, it's way out there, you can't see it. And the bass eases up under it. And it moves again just a little bit, and he eases up under it. So he's laying there right under that jerkbait. You don't know this. If you're working it too fast, by the time you get up there toward it, by the time he kind of gets up there toward it, you're going to have to crank it back up to the boat to make it another throw. So he gets up there, and the bait's laying there, and it's laying there, and it's laying there, and it's laying there. And he gets closer and closer and closer. And it's laying there. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. You're about to die. I open me up a Coca-Cola. And all of a sudden, the bass is right there. You don't know he's there, but he's there. And you move it down the last 6 inches. It's right there, and he's right here, and it wiggles. And he grabs it. And that's the secret to catching on the jerkbait right there. And the longer you can let it pause when the water's cold, the better it is. The better it is. And I have the worst problem with this than anybody in the world because I love to turn a reel handle. I dig turning a reel handle. I mean, I enjoy throwing it out there and winding it back in. Learn to have fun throwing it out there, winding it back in. That's pretty much what fishing is. Learn to enjoy it. You get a fish on the end of it, that's a bonus. That's an extra deal. Learn to have fun throwing it out there, winding it back in. I like that. But now, so if I like to throw it out, wind it back in, it's hard for me to go. That's hard. So your patience will be tested when you're fishing these correctly. Now, if you're fishing the bait, the water gets warmer, your pauses can shorten up. In fact, a lot of times you're not going to have to pause at all. Sweep it, get it down there deep, just go ahead and jerk it all the way back to the boat. That's fine. As the water warms up, fish get more aggressive, fish get closer to the surface, get up to the top part of the water column, you're going to be a lot better. But that pause is a killer deal. One of the BASS tournaments that we had at Guntersville back a few years back, George Cochran, who won the Bassmaster Classic, who won the FLW Championship. He's a great fisherman. He's good tournament fishing now. But he was, in practice, he thought he could catch maybe a 5 bass limit that weighed 12 pounds a day. He thought that'd be like his best day for practice. Catch him on a jerkbait, Guntersville, Alabama. First day of the tournament, he was fishing this little area. He had a little small limit, weigh about 9 pounds. He was thinking, man, I just kicked this thing up 12 pounds. And he had a jerkbait on, he had it down there, and a boat came by and hollered or honked, and he turned around to see who it was. And he looked, and he told his co-angler, he said, "Is that Nixon? Who is that anyway?" The guy said, "Oh, I don't know who it is." He said, "I don't know either. I was wondering who that is. I don't know. It kind of looks like Larry's boat." And one took off with me, and it was weighing 6 pounds. And he thought, man, I got a good stringer now. And so he fished for about another 30 or 40 minutes. He don't get a bite. And all of a sudden, this little light goes off in his brain that, man, I almost had that thing there 30, 40 seconds while I try to figure out who's going by in the boat. So he throws it out there, he jerks it down there, and he leaves it set there, and he leaves it set there, and he leaves it set there. He jerked it, and he leaves it set there. He thought, well, that's another good idea, it didn't work. And he gets him, and the rest is history. He caught 100 pounds in that tournament on 4 days. 27, 28 pounds, and one day, 22 another day. I mean, every day. I saw him the very next tournament when he told me that exact story. We were fishing at Eufaula, Alabama. I was catching him on a jig right beside where he was not catching him on a crankbait. And I came around the point, and he was fishing there, and I came up to him, he's holding his rod out there. I said, "What are you doing, catfishing?" He said, "No." He said, "I got a jerkbait on there." I said, "You ain't jerking." I'm pitching a jig out there, fishing a jig. And he's standing and sat there, and I said, and he told me the story. I think he told me the whole story before he ever jerked it in. And I said, "Dadgum, I ain't been letting them set that long." I said, "How many have you caught today?" He said, 2. But he said, "I'm going to leave it sit there," And he didn't catch it in that tournament. So that, once you kind of figure out how long to leave that bait fall, that's a critical element. That's a critical thing. Now, the last thing to talk about on a jerkbait, and this is true with any lure you're fishing. One of the things that you'll see professional fishermen do above a guy that just goes out there and fishes occasionally is the first thing they do when they're looking at a fish, and they got a fish hooked and they're trying to land the fish, is they're looking to see how that fish is hooked. That will determine how you fight the fish. Whether it's on a rattle bait, a crankbait, a plastic worm, a spinnerbait, whatever. I'm always looking, and as I'm looking, as the fish jumps out of the water, I'm zeroed right in on that fish's mouth to see how he's hooked. Because that'll depend on how I play the fish. And now sometimes you make a mistake in that. I mean, I had a 5-pounder in a tournament one time, and he jumped, and I couldn't see my little red Cordell hotspot. It was gone. It was down in his throat. I got him up by the boat, and it was down in his throat. And we weren't allowed to use dip nets in BASS, and so I just went and sling him over the side of the boat. It was down in his throat. Got 2 sets of treble hooks. I went to sling him over the side of the boat, and he fell off. I don't know how. He couldn't get it out of there with pliers probably. He fell off and got away. And anyway, we watch how they're hooked because you play it. Now the good thing about these kind of baits is they got 3 sets of treble hooks. You can't pick that bait up without getting one in your hand. How a bass can hit it and get off or not get hooked. I mean, sometimes you got that bait, you hit that bait, and one will slam into it and jerk your rod. You set the hook and he's not there. I don't know how it happens. But when you get a fish on any kind of bait, look and see how that fish is hooked. On this particular bait here, so much of the time they're on the back hook. or they're on the front hook. They're not, they don't have two of them in them. They got it in the front or the back. That depends on which way they hit. So if you see that that's happening, that fish, when he gets around the boat, whichever side of that fish's mouth that bait is on. And if he got down his throat, you're in business. Get to that. Let him swim around. You got a 4-pound test line, no problem. He ain't coming on. But if he's hooked on the end hook or the front hook, as you're fighting that fish, whichever side he's hooked on, try to swing your rod to the other side where that fish is, and as he bites, he gets the rest of the hook inside of his face. The other two hooks. He's hooked in the end, and you move it around as he turns and fights. You move your rod, get it where he's got 2 or 3 sets of trebles in. You won't lose very many that way. It's a really critical deal. All right, I'll probably take them about all the time I'm supposed to. Does anybody have any questions about, we don't have to necessarily talk about jerkbait. Oh, by the way, y'all probably, all y'all might already be entered, but during the sweepstakes this year at the Bass Pro Shop stores, we're giving away a fishing trip at my house on one of my private lakes. I've got a 130-acre lake and I got a 77-acre lake. The 130-acre lake was absolutely the best private lake in the United States. I mean, it really was. My dam broke on Mother's Day of year before last now, 2015, and I lost about 2.6 billion gallons of water and about $1 million worth of fish. And I've rebuilt the lake, restocked it. The bass in there right now are only about 12 inches long, but I've got another 77-acre lake, and the bass in there are about 12 pounds. So a lot of really big fish in there. Chris and I fished with jerkbaits the other day. We did a television show that actually will be on week number 13, which is probably about the 3rd week in March. It's right around the corner. Week number 13 for the year. That will be on the Jer and I fishing that particular lake. And we caught 24 that day. I caught 3 on an umbrella rig. The umbrella rig is 2 5-pounders and 7. And then I couldn't catch any more. We couldn't catch them on that rig. She got to throwing a jerkbait. She caught 3 or 4, so I thought I might also throw a jerkbait too. And we caught 24 and several 5-pounders. But anyway, Bass Pro Shop is giving away a trip. I think that they got, I don't know the exact rules, but I think they got maybe $2,500 in expense money. It's in southern Oklahoma, about 370 miles from right here where we are right now in Round Rock. And we'll probably do that trip maybe this summer, this fall, whenever. Fishing's good there pretty much all the time. We fish the old lake a little bit. It's a beautiful lake, catch a lot of fish. I know they're just not, we'll probably have a lot of pound and quarter, pound and a half in there by summertime. I fish both ways, it doesn't matter. If I go out and shoot pigs at night, or coons, or armadillos, or catch rattlesnakes, we do it all. We're pretty much redneck.
Jimmy, what for jerkbait fishing? What's your preferred rod? You know, length, action, and your reel preferred gear ratio.
Well, I use high gear ratio reels, 6'3" to 6'8". I use pretty high gear ratio reels, and I do that not for fishing baits fast, but for getting them the heck out of the water when they're in an area where I don't think they're going to get a bite. And if I'm throwing a spinnerbait and I'm going to throw it by the edge of that little platform right there, once I clear, let's say I'm going to throw it over here and come down the edge of that. Once I clear the edge of it, I'm going to wind a lot faster, but I don't expect to get a bite between the edge and there. I expect to get a bite around one of those 2 corners or right under. So I got a high-speed reel to get it out right here. So I use pretty high-speed reels. I use mostly casting reels. My probably biggest shortcoming in tournament fishing is I like to have fun. So the things I don't like to do, I don't do them much. I don't fish the spinning reel a lot, except when I'm crappie fishing. I was catching on a casting reel out there today, and I should have been throwing a spinning reel. But I like a spinning rod is 6'6", 6'8", 7 foot, relatively fast action tip on it, and I use a loose spinning reel most of the time. I use quite a few of the different ones that are loose. I use the best ones that I got. So I've got some of the cheap ones too, so great. But on a spinning reel, same thing. Just whatever really is comfortable to you. You just want to be able to have a rod that's got a good enough backbone that you drive that bait down deep on the initial pull, and then after that, and most of the time, I'm worried about feel because you're getting a bite on a slack line the majority of the time. But I like pretty high speed. I don't use 7-to-1 ratios. I use 6.3 to 6.8 mostly, which is pretty fast reel. And I like it, again, because I want to get the bait out of there. I mean, once I pass, and if I'm pitching, you know, and of course if I was going to the end of that kayak right there, I'd flip to that. But let's say I was going another 10 foot past that while I'm pitching. Once I pitch it out there, let it hit the bottom, I want to get it in real fast and pitch it again. I don't do a lot. When I'm fishing soft plastics, I don't do a lot of real slow fishing. You know, like I said earlier, I like to turn that real hand. And you know, ironically, right now, fishing slow is the way that they're biting fish out there. One of the ones I caught out there today, I made a big old long cast out there with a little biffle head, a little wobble head jig. I had a little great minutes on the back of it, a little crawfish right on the end of it. And by the way, if you buy those great minutes, that little tail is always connected together. Separate those things, break them. Now, he'll still work with them connected. If you have the action, you got to break it. I see a lot of people fish them and so I just don't seem to have any action. You got to break that thing. Just got a little bit of comes out of the bowl that way. They don't break it. I don't know why. But anyway, but I towed it out there and I fished it pretty much contacting the bottom, hit a little rocks and stuff, all the way back, caught the fish right in the middle. Really long. But I was mostly trying to help my question state customers. I was mostly trying to help them catch fish. I fished a lot more than I was fishing something. First bite I got was about a 3 pounder. Go figure. But anyway, I'm one of those guys that like to come a lot of water. I had a really lousy day yesterday. I caught 2 keepers. I caught one of them about 10 to 12 throw. I had my second keeper bite at 3:15. So that's a long, hard day. I probably fished 75 to 100 places in that 10-hour time. I mean, I covered a lot of water. I started that motor probably 100 times every day. I don't know how many times I caught it. And I mean, sometimes I would fish 5 minutes. Sometimes I was fishing probably 8 or 10 places an hour. I mean, that's pretty fast. It normally always that worked. Didn't work here. I appreciate it. I'm going to do me some shopping at Bass Pro. I think my wife's already about used up my credit card. Thank y'all so much for coming out here. Be sure to enter this contest. It'll be a lot of fun.